host. Welcome and thank you for joining me for another episode. I think this is episode 95, but I'm not sure, and I probably should have checked that before I left, but I didn't. This is a spur of the moment thing. My husband's like, you want to meet down at the river for some sushi? And I'm like, yeah, I'll bring my podcast stuff, and I just grabbed my basket. A couple of things. You might hear the train. I'm right near the train tracks, like right now. And another thing is it's raining out, so we're under a gazebo, and but the lighting is really good for showing off color because there's no glaring sun. It is Monday. It's President's Day here in the United States, so I had off from work. And it's the 19th, and I know it's the 19th because it's the day after our anniversary, 11 years with Mark. And yeah, so I am here at a little park in Croton called Senasqua, and yeah, it's like I said, it's raining, so it's all gray out, but it's a great place to go for a walk. I've been coming here since I was a kid. So anyway, I wanted to show you, I have one FO, but I have a lot of new projects on the needles, so I really wanted to give you an update. I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is a yoke sweater I knit maybe at least 10 years ago, before Ravelry. It's with Lopi wool, and it's the thicker one, and the thinner one held double in the yoke area. I know these are like really coming back in popularity, these yoke sweaters. This is a pattern, it's just called number 19, and it's from a Lopi book that is not published anymore. The yarn store owner, because yes, I had to buy it in a yarn store in Toronto called Toronto, Canada, yes. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, she printed it out for me because it was no longer in print and I couldn't buy the book. But it's number 19. It's on my Ravelry page, including the name of the place I got it, which does do online orders as well, if you're interested, and great customer service. So anyway, it's one of my favorite sweaters, but the thing with Lopi, and I got the idea to wear this sweater because I was watching the number 23 podcast today, and she just bought a whole bunch of Lopi yarn to make a yoke sweater with, and she was saying how she hopes it's not too itchy and it gets softer with wear and when you wash it. And the answer to all that is it never gets soft enough to wear against your skin. I always wear a turtleneck under this sweater. So does it soften up a little bit? I guess maybe, but it doesn't really matter because it's never soft enough to be next to your skin. The second thing about Lopi sweaters that you should know is that they're always too warm to wear inside. So don't wear your Lopi sweater to work like I did once and never again, because you will sweat at work because they're that warm. Wear it outside like I am right now when it's like 45 degrees Fahrenheit out, and it's perfect for that. If you wear this under a coat and it's freezing outside, you will be toasty warm. So that's what I got to say about Lopi sweaters. Lopi is a great yarn, but it is for an outdoor sweater, not an indoor sweater, and it is never ever soft. Even if you don't mind wool, it's never soft enough for your skin. So I just wanted to put that out there. But this is one of my favorite sweaters anyway. I love the colors. It was really quick to knit up because the Lopi is so thick. And it pills just the wee bit, but hardly at all. So it's just a great yarn. So that being said, let's get on to my one and only finished object. Are these socks by Hunter Hammerson. I don't remember the pattern name, so I didn't bring show notes or anything, and I know I've shown you these socks many times, so I will put the name of the pattern underneath the bar of the video. But I finished these shortly after the last time I recorded, And I haven't worn them because I wanted them to look nice and fresh when I showed them to you. I love the color of the yarn. It's Anzulu yarn, and I won it actually through Hunter Hammerson's blog, so it's kind of appropriate. I'm knitting a pair of her socks with it. So overall, I love the pattern. I like the yarn. We'll see how the yarn wears, because you know all sock yarns wear differently. But I'm really glad to show you these so that I can start wearing them. And this is my one and only finished object. But I did, last time I podcast, I did tell you that I was finishing up a lot of stuff, or I just finished up a lot of stuff. So I was on a cast-on palooza, casting on a bunch of new products, or patterns rather. One of the things I cast on, which I actually showed you as a pattern on my list, was the Coastal Wall shawl by Joji Locatelli. It's beautiful, and I bought some wool yarn for it in the colorway Bull Thistle. It's in this project bag that I got at Vogue Knitting Live one year. I love this project bag. It's got both flaps and outside pockets. And this project bag is, I use it a lot, so I know you've seen it. Fine Fiber Arts Products, but the website is Lady Llama Fiber Company at Etsy. I don't know if you can see that. My cameraman might be focusing in. He's telling me to wait. He's giving me the okay. So these are great bags, so I definitely highly recommend them. But let me show you. Here's the wool. It's wool is an excellent yarn that I can't recommend enough. It is all organically superwashed and organically dyed. This is the color Bull Thistle in the sport weight, and it's so affordable. It's only $15.99 a skein, and that's for a full 100-gram skein of yarn. That's just slightly over half of what most yarns will cost you. And it's soft and beautiful, and it's just, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's a great yarn, so definitely go to that website and support them. Their products are great. Their color selection is beautiful. Now, here it is knitted up. This is the lace portion of that shawl, and obviously it's not blocked, so it looks kind of weird. And it's on the needles, but you can kind of see how it's kind of looking. This color I love. I had gotten a skein at Rhinebeck last year. So, and I picked this color. This is going to be a gift for my friend Lena's mom. And I think I explained to you last podcast. It is a prayer shawl, so what I do is every time I pick it up, I say a little prayer for Lena's mom. I give the shawl some Reiki, and just so she has something to wrap herself up in, and because she's been going through some tough times, so I wanted to give her something special. So this is going to be for my friend's mom, and it's the Coastal Walk shawl by Joji Locatelli. I don't know, I might make another one for myself. I've been knitting it. I started it day one of the Olympics, and I've been knitting it a lot since then. I only have a few more rows to go before I start the garter stitch section, which should fly. So I anticipate finishing this soon, and I will show you as soon as it's done. The other thing I wanted to show you, and I know I had started this last time I had recorded, I had shown you this. It was pretty much just started. It's the hummus, not hummus. I think I'm hungry. It is the Humulus sweater, yoke sweater by Isabel Kraemer. There's a little picture of it down here, but let me show it to you. You'll recognize it right away because it's super hot and popular on Ravelry right now. I think it's been on the first page for months. It's top down, seamless. I'm knitting it on Knitpicks yarn. This is Knitpicks, the gray is Knitpicks Simply Wool. And the color is on Knitpicks Tweed. I only needed one skein of the Knitpicks Tweed. I bought a couple, but I only needed the one. And I bought, I think 8 skeins of the Simply Wool. I don't think I'm going to use them all, but we'll see. I love Knitpicks yarn because it makes a sweater like this that normally, if you bought the recommended wool, would probably cost you about $150. The wool for this cost me $30. So great stuff. I love how it's coming out. The wool is soft. I did give it a bath in the very beginning because I wanted to recheck my gauge. And I can tell you it is not scratchy. I would have no problem wearing this against my skin. It's a beautiful wool. It's a beautiful wool that I will use again and again. I love the natural look to it. I love the way it's spun. It's a little different than the wool of the Andes. I would say it's a little thicker than the wool of the Andes that you get from Knitpicks, but it still worked well with the color work. I definitely will use this yarn again. So, yeah, I think I'll be pulling this out a lot more again. I knit on it like crazy for a while, and then I haven't knit on it in the past week or so since I started that shawl that I just showed you. So that's how far this sweater has come. And I have a feeling that might be done or nearly done next time I record. Last project on the needles, or at least live project on the needles, is a pair of socks called Roots. Now, recently, a Ninja Chicken did a podcast about this little book, so I'm not going to go too into it, but and I did a little recording, which I'll stick at the end of this, about how I fixed some things on this sock. But let me just show you real quick. I saw this publication come up on Ravelry, and I loved every pattern in it. Here's the printout. It's called Socks, 2008. And the Ninja Chicken podcast is having a giveaway for this ebook. So go and try and win this because these patterns are beautiful. And this is the only one I've done so far, but I could say the pattern is very well written. Yeah, so I'm starting with Roots, but I really think that I will end up knitting every single one of these patterns. Plus there's a lot of good reading in here. So I really strongly recommend we purchase this ebook. That being said, let me show you the pattern Roots. So here is the first sock. It is done. I used a Spirit Trail Fiberworks yarn that is, she no longer dyes on this space, but it's called Tayet, and it is a BFL yarn. I thought it was a straight BFL because the theme of that little book is unprocessed yarns, like non-superwash, non-nylon yarns. And I didn't realize it, but this is actually a superwash BFL. But I love it. It's still very damp. I gave it a little bath today so it would look all nice and relaxed for you. I'm going to show it to you from the front because that's where the patterning is. It's so beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? And the color is Pink Sands, which is a repeat colorway that she does dye. And I'm seriously thinking when I get my tax return is I might order, sorry, here comes a train. I might order a sweater worth quantity of this yarn in a different base because I love it so much. This Pink Sand is it's like a dusty rose pink. I don't know how to describe it, but this pattern is really lovely. I love how the cables come up the side. They kind of start here and they spread out and they come up. And it's got the ribbing in the front that keeps it nice and elastic. Here's the back fixed. And I'm not going to go over it again, but you'll see how I wasn't happy originally with the back, so I ripped it out and redid it, and now it's redone. What I don't think I talked about, or maybe I did, was my, when I did do the fishlets kiss heel, I know I told you about how I do the short rows to add a little extra room in the cup of the heel. I knit this sock in a size 0, but when I started the heel, I switched to a US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter. So I knit most of the sock in 2.0 millimeters, or US 0. I knit the sock and up to the short row heels, the short rows that I did, in the US 1, or 2.25 millimeter. And then I switched back to the zeros for the leg of the cup of the sock. The reason I did that, and I don't usually do that, but why I did it this time is before I ripped it out the first time and I was trying it on, it was really stretching the top of the sock out near my ankle. It was way too tight. But the rest of the sock, in the foot and in the leg, and the foot is still a little too long, that fit perfectly. So I just went up a needle size when I re-knit it, and it came out perfect. I couldn't ask for a more perfect fitting sock. So I did start the other one. I just have a little bit of the toe done. I will continue joyfully knitting this second sock because the pattern is really, it's beautiful. It's really, really nice. I forget Claire Mountain is the designer. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That is the last project I've been working on. So basically just the shawl, these socks, and that sweater. When I'm done with these socks and the shawl, I promised my two sister-in-laws, Mark's sister and her wife, Becky, I'm knitting them both a hat, a Brooklyn tweed hat. They both picked out a pattern from his website and bought the yarn and had it sent to me, so I should be getting that soon. And I'm looking forward to knitting that up for them. I love my sister-in-laws. They're such wonderful people. And they're like all excited, they said, to wear an Amy hat. So that's the kind of stuff that really defines the knit-worthy person when they say stuff like that. It's really, it makes you feel good and that your time is appreciated. The other thing I'm getting in the mail soon is I ordered some Cascade 220 from the website, yarn.com, because my coworker was like drooling over the Olympics, a U.S. team Olympic hat, which I think Susan Rainey published a free pattern for it on Ravelry, and I said, well, you want me to knit you one? And he's like, seriously? Isn't that way too much work? I'll pay you. And I'm like, I could probably get it done in a weekend and just buy the yarn and I'll make you the hat. And he was like so grateful. So again, very knit worthy. He didn't ask for it. I offered it. He didn't want to impose. I assured him it was okay. And I'll have enough yarn left over to make another hat, possibly for my husband. So Mark wants another hat. So that's what I'm going to be working on next. And I have to start the baby sweater. My coworker Babji is expecting a baby boy in April. I'm not sure the date, but I probably should start that soon in the next couple of weeks so that it's ready before the baby comes. And I still am undecided. I know I was talking about the colors in the last podcast and you guys were helping me decide, but what I did end up doing was bringing the yarn to work and asking him what he liked. And he liked the brown and the blue together. And then I saw this other pattern, and it's just a plain cardigan with, I always forget the, but it's really more simple, and it's with Baby Cashmerino by Debbie Bliss, her yarn, which I got which I got off somebody's D-stash, so I got it at a very good price. So I'm kind of undecided what to make. Either way, I'll make them both, and I'll give him one, and whichever one I don't give him, I'll keep in the drawer, and the next time someone's having a baby, I'll have a gift ready to give. Last thing I wanted to show you is, I did get one yarn purchase, and I'm saying this in front of my husband, so I'm being totally transparent, but
just kidding.
It's a one-of-a-kind or lucky pot color from Spirit Trail Fiberworks, my favoriteest yarn dyer in the world, with my favoriteest base, which is Sana and Birt yarns, which is her silk merino cashmere blend, Decadence. She posted this, and like I said, it's one of a kind, so when it's gone, it's gone, and I was so in love with the colors in it. I love blue and gold, this yellowish gold, and it's got some green in it and some purple. I just love the colors. So I stacked this up, and it'll probably be part of a shawl. It's in her Philomena base, which is 100% superwash merino. 100 grams. It's 438 yards. So that's the only thing I've bought lately. Lastly, I wanted to show, someone asked about my Alice Starmore sweater. I haven't worked on this since before Christmas time, because before Christmas I got totally wrapped up in the Joji Locatelli sweater, All Is Love, and then after that it was passing on all this stuff you see here because I was on this sweater binge. But I can show you, I think the last time I showed this, I had showed you how I knit it way too big, my gauge was off, and I actually restarted it. So here it is now. Let's see. I love, you know what, just having it out is making me yearn to work on it again. Aren't the colors beautiful? So this is much better size. It's almost done with one repeat of the chart. It is a very long chart. I think one repeat is, how many rows? I am on row 50 of a chart that is 58 rows long. So, yeah. Just, this was a special treat purchase because her colors are, you don't get colors like this anywhere else. It's just, they glow, they're so beautiful. So this is where I am with my Alice Starmore cardigan. This is definitely going to be an on-again, off-again project, and will take a long time to complete. So this is how far I've come so far, very little. But I'm thinking it might get some love after that baby sweater's done. Socks. I'm not sure what socks I'm going to cast on next. It's either going to be another one from that Socks 2018, or it's going to be the Helen Handmaid's sock club thing that I joined this year. I love her first pattern, so I might knit that up. But that's about all I got to talk about this time. I want to thank you again all for tuning in and watching my podcast. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you guys taking the time and sharing my love of knitting and hearing about all that I'm knitting. I hope you enjoy it. And right following this, I will post that video that talks about me ripping out that sock and why, and redoing it. So you've seen the after, now see the before. And I will see you all again when I have more to show. Bye-bye. Is the counter clean enough, Lisa? Still Oh my gosh! They are beautiful.
You're such a bad faker.
Look at, oh,
see how
Amy.
soft they are? They're thicker than your other pair too.
Oh, they are beautiful. You're so talented.
Oh, Lisa, I love you.
I love you. Thank you very much.
Hey, so this is one of the patterns I'm knitting right now. It's a sock pattern called Roots, and if you like it, it is in a e-zine called Socks 2018, and I love all the patterns in it, and it's a great magazine, and I love like every single pattern in it, which is why I bought it. And I am knitting it in, oh, what am I knitting it in? It's a Spirit Trail Fiberworks yarn that's discontinued. Let me get that for you real quick. Anyway, the reason I am videotaping this is I didn't make necessarily a mistake, but it's something that is bothering me, so I wanted to show you what I did. So I've frogged and re-knit sections of this sock so many times. The first thing I did is, and why I don't particularly care to knit socks toe up, is the my gauge was off, and gauge is important in socks, but knitting a gauge swatch is kind of silly for socks because, you know, your sock can be a gauge swatch, and most socks are kind of even the size of a gauge swatch. So I started this toe up. Again, not my favorite way to knit a sock. And I kept trying it on, and it was just way too wide for my, it was like this much wider for my toes. So I ripped the whole thing out, started over again, and instead of going down a size in the pattern, I just went down to size 0 needles. And I usually knit my socks on a size 1 or 2.25 millimeter. And these are knit a size 0, and you can see the tension's very tight, but I kind of like that. The spirit of the sock magazine is to knit your socks in natural yarns without nylon and without superwash, so that's what I did. This is Spirit Trail Fiberworks Tayet, which is 100% BFL. It's actually considered a sport yarn, sport weight. And yeah, I'm knitting on a size 0. So the other thing I did wrong was I knit the foot too long, and actually still is a little too long, so I'll knit the second sock shorter. But I did fish lips kiss heel because I hate the heel flap, toe up heel flap. I hate that. I never get it right. You have to start it right in the middle of the sock. I just don't like it at all. I don't really know the short row routine that she put in the pattern, and I just went with my trusty old fish lips kiss heel, which I modify, and I'll talk about that too. But even that, I did it too. I made the foot too long, and I had to rip it out, and I went down at least a good inch and started and did the fish lips heel, kiss heel an inch earlier than I had done it previously, and still the foot is just a little too long, but it's fine. When I knit a fish lips kiss heel, I don't think I've talked about this on my podcast before, so I'll talk about it now. I tried this once in a pair of socks because I found the fish lips kiss heel, it kind of like goes really low on my heel, if you know what I mean. And she talks in the her pattern about starting like an inch up, and I know Mina Phillips from the Expat podcast has, I don't have any of her sock patterns, but she has like this little extra, and that she sticks into her patterns, And it's very practical because this part of the sock is still in your shoe. So it kind of makes sense, and it makes the sock, the fish lips kiss heel fit better. Now she talks about ways of adjusting the actual heel cup for bigger heels, and I'm not going to go into that because you can buy this for $1 and it's worth it, and she'll talk about that in there. But what I do is, after I complete the fish lips kiss heel, is I knit a couple of rounds, and then I do 2 short rows just to give it a little more roundness past this heel cup, because it's still going around my heel at this point. And then I knit another round and a half. So I'll knit 1 full round, and then I'll go across the front of the foot, and then I'll do 2 more short rows. And it just gives the heel a little more roundness so that it really just fits my heel perfect. So that is what I do. What happened is, after I did that, I keep knitting plain stockinette in the back until it reaches 1 inch above the heel, which is what a lot of people recommend, and I do too. But I forgot to start the seed stitch pattern. So normally I like to switch 1 inch, but I usually go by my heel, my ankle bone, that little knob that sticks out, and when it reaches that, that's when I go and I start knitting in the pattern. And for this, it's a seed stitch, and I forgot, and I started knitting up this sock, and you can see my short rows here. And I do German short rows, just for the record. They're the most beautiful short rows you can do. And I went a good inch without starting the pattern. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to start the seed stitch. So I just started it thinking, oh, I can get away with it. And you know what? I kept knitting, and I kept looking at it, and I kept knitting, and I kept looking at it. And I'm like, finally, I'm almost done doing and I'm like, this looks totally stupid. I'm ripping it out. So that's what I'm doing. I personally, I don't want to have to rip out my stuff, but if I'm not happy with how something looks, I don't just say, well, there's no way I'm ripping this out. I've done too much work, and I rip things out and I redo them because I want to like them. But I can't say I'd never let little errors go, but if they had to be like really, really negligible for me to just continue on and go. And for that reason, if something bothers me, I usually don't wait and try and talk myself out of it like I did with this sock, because I don't want to rip out a lot if I don't have to. But to me, this is just extra knitting enjoyment time, so I'm all fine with it.